All right. So Harold and I are going to talk about how to specifically hosting classes in Zoom, how to get started, how to set up your settings and things like that. We'll be showing you some things we'll have to show you pictures of because we can't show you the host's screen in a Zoom while we're Zooming. But we've taken some screenshots to show you, and we'll be jumping over into the Zoom website as well. So for this session, we're going to assume that the host has a Zoom Pro account versus a regular Zoom account. And right now, that's not a problem. We can get Zoom Pro accounts for anybody who needs them, but that allows you to have up to 300 people in a room, and your meetings can be essentially unlimited, Harold. They don't kick you out after 40 minutes. And if you're going to have a classroom of people, you're going to need to probably have more than 40 consecutive minutes in your class. Okay, if you don't know, I'm going to share my screen and show you how to log in and see if you have a Pro account. So if you're in AU Direct, under Services, your Zoom button's here, and you can drag it out and put it on your toolbar up here. If you click Zoom, you will come to this site. If you have ever hosted a Zoom meeting, then you just sign in. If you've only participated in Zoom meetings and have never set up your account here, you'll want to do the join button, put in your Antioch username, and create a password. But you just go and sign in. And under your profile here in the upper left corner, you can slide down to user type. And you can see that the user type here is Pro. If you don't have a Pro account and you're going to need to host meetings, all you need to do is email Harold and let him know, and he will upgrade you to a Pro account so that you can host a larger number of people for a longer amount of time.
That's correct.
Harold, is there anything else specific to a Pro account that they might need to know?
Pro account allows you to do cloud recording. If you do not have a Pro account, you can't record to the cloud. You have to record locally. At what point do we want to talk, Bonnie, about the setup for recording? Or are you going to that next?
Yeah, I have that down after we've set up the meeting settings and recording settings.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing to do, our recommendation is under your meetings list, is that you schedule a new meeting for each course. This will give each meeting its own ID and won't allow one course to overlap with another course. And it's relatively simple. You just click the schedule a new meeting button. You name it Zoom Pro 101 or whatever the name of your course is. You can have a description. Let's just say it's going to be from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Mondays. You can use the recurrence button to say it's going to be a weekly class. Repeat every 1 week on Wednesdays for 7 times, or any number of times you want, or you can end it at a date. And then I leave the rest of the settings as they are by default. That is, I allow both people to call in via telephone and use computer audio. I allow people to enable to join in before I get there. And then I simply hit save. If you're co-hosting with someone and you want them to be a co-host, you can put their Antioch email address here, and they will be a co-host when they join that meeting.
One point of emphasis on that, however, is they also have to be a Pro account holder. If they don't have a Pro account, they can't be a co-host.
So this may mean when you guys sign up for a Pro account, you might want to make sure that your program coordinator, your administrative director, whatever you call them in your department, that they also have a pro account in case they need to jump on and help you, or whoever you're co-teaching with as well.
Right.
All right, so after you submit your meetings, you'll see that you get a meeting URL for this meeting, and you can simply put that on your Zoom page in any number of ways you want. You can link it, you can send it via email, this is a very verbose invitation that gives people a lot of detail about how they might log in, and you can copy and paste this into an email if you want to. The other thing you can do to create a meeting is to do it via your calendar. And here's my calendar.
David has a question about meetings.
Go ahead, David.
In setting up the meeting, let's say it's a recurring meeting for the class, is it the same meeting number, the same URL for all of the sessions?
Yes, that way you don't have to set up one meeting for every week.
Gotcha. Okay.
This will have the same meeting forever. And if at some point you come in, and Harold, correct me if I'm wrong, and you're not teaching that course next time, I think you can even just change the name of the meeting to, I'm changing it to Zoom 102, and you could use that next semester for a different course.
You could, but I would probably go ahead and create a new meeting. That also allows you to kind of keep, well, besides from keeping things that are organized, what you might be able to do is keeps, there's statistics for meetings that we can pull for you. So if you were curious about how many people participated in the 101s, over the course of a term, we can provide that information for you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thanks, Harold.
Yeah. What you could do, however, if you want, is you could reuse this meeting or series of meetings in the future for if you teach 101 again. But like I said, my tendency would be to say, just go ahead and create a new meeting. We're talking about bits here, not aluminum cans. So
yeah, and there's not a
cycle per se.
There's no limit on the number of meetings you can have, so it won't be like you're using up your 5 meetings or whatever it is.
Okay, good to know.
The other thing that some people are concerned about when you set up a meeting is the start time and how long it is. That start time is when the meeting will open, and we often encourage you to open it up 15 minutes advance. But if you have enabled join before host, it'll allow people to join when they're ready, and it won't cut you off after an hour. So you don't have to add an extra hour or half an hour to the end of every class in order to continue. If you go on to an hour and 42 minutes, it's not going to kick you all out of your meeting just because your meeting settings said it was an hour.
Right. The time is more or less to let people know when the meeting, when you are planning to have the meeting. It's not necessarily, there's nothing technical there that prevents people from coming in, unless, as I say, you have that feature disabled that allows you to join before host. In that case, what you'll see is this nice little wait screen that will, where you'll be kind of sitting there waiting for the host to show up. And you can also have it set up so that there's like a waiting room area, so that you're kind of on hold for the until the instructor allows people to come in. So there's 2 different philosophies there, 2 different. Some people prefer not to have people join the meeting before you come in. Other people are if people want to show up 5-10 minutes early to check their technology, then by all means, they don't have a problem with it at all. But
it's great to encourage people to show up a few minutes early to make sure their microphone is working, that sort of thing.
Right.
So Harold showed me this trick, and I think this is new. You weren't able to do it before, but you can also create a Zoom meeting from in Google now, in your G Calendar. And as you go to your calendar and you start the first one, you can do more options to get to the big screen. And class meeting 102. You can make it a Zoom meeting, and it creates a new Zoom ID. And then you can do your repeating weekly on Wednesday or whatever time of day it is.
Right.
And you can invite your guests right over here. And they will get the invite. And if they say yes, they're coming, it'll put it on their calendar with the meeting ID. And this is sort of a way to do it all in one fell swoop. And I'll hit save. I'm only going to do this custom. I only want it to go after 3 occurrences. And then I hit save. And you can notify or not notify the people. And there you go, you have your meeting. Now, when I come back into Zoom and I go to my meetings, you'll see I have this new class meeting 102 with a new number. All right, so that's 2 different ways of doing the same thing. You can create the meeting from inside your Google Calendar, or you can create it from inside Zoom.
Now, it used to be, and I think this is still the case, if you schedule a meeting in Google Calendar and then it creates automatically in Zoom, as it has here, and you make changes in Zoom, let's say that you decide, well, actually, I want to change the dates on that because I had them wrong. You need to make sure that you change them in both places. There's no automatic update between the two. So if you change it in Google Calendar, then you also need to go to that Zoom meeting, the Zoom meetings that you had automatically created, and make sure that the dates there are correct as well.
Great. That's a great thing. Clarification. So the other thing that you might want to look at before you start your meeting is your under settings. You have 3 different kinds of settings: meeting, recording, and telephone. We're going to leave the telephone settings as they are, but these meeting settings allow you to set the usual setup for your meeting so that most new meetings are set up in the same way. So you can leave your host video on and your participants video on. You can change the audio to allow computer only or telephone only, or both. I usually leave both because sometimes people get stuck in traffic and are late to a meeting, but they can listen on their phone or something like that from wherever they are. Join before host is my preferred setting because my meetings are quite informal. But if you had a really formal meeting, you could turn that off. There's a lot of other protections you can use. You can require a password when scheduling new meetings or for instant meetings. I typically don't do that because I don't require a lot of privacy or anything. But if you were going to have a meeting that you didn't want to allow anybody to interrupt, using a password would be a good way, and only giving it to the person who's supposed to be at that meeting with you. That way you won't be interrupted. Now, my meetings have very rarely, if ever, been accidentally interrupted by someone. So it's not something that happens a lot. But if you needed that sort of privacy or no interruption, that would be one way of doing it. Okay. You can allow, by default, I allow the chat to be on. That helps me troubleshoot with people who are having audio or video trouble. And these settings are set by the administrator by default. If they're grayed out like this one, it'll say locked by admin. And that just means it's anti-op policy that that's how all of our meetings are set up and have to stay like that. And if you had any concerns about that, you could ask Harold because he's the admin.
That is correct. And yeah, I mean, if you can make a good case as to why we should change things globally across Antioch, then by all means, I'll definitely take it under consideration.
Great. I use polling in some of my meetings. It allows me to just ask a multiple choice question or several multiple choice questions of people to find out where they are. So as people joined this meeting, I was asking them, oh, are you actually teaching in Zoom now? Or are you going to be teaching, or are you supporting other people? If I could have asked that question in a poll so that as people joined in, all they had to do was pop it in. They didn't have to speak. And I would recommend that if you should turn on polling so that you could allow it to be used if you decide you need it. This has to be turned on in order for you to set up a poll in any meeting. And we're going to show you how to do that later. Harold, you had some information about the whiteboard in this autosave.
Yeah, basically, is there anyone here currently using whiteboard? If I can see like maybe a show of hands or something like that. Not a whole lot of people. Oh, okay. Basically, there's a whiteboard feature that you can use in screen sharing that allows you to draw or type or do other things as well. And there is a feature here that you can enable, and I would encourage you to enable it, that will allow you to automatically save anything you do in the whiteboard. Because there's one thing that if you're using a whiteboard, and let's say that you have several students and you've worked on something cooperatively in the whiteboard, and then you get to the end and you close and we forgot to save it. Oops. If you have it enabled to automatically save, then you don't have to worry about that because it will automatically save it for you. And that's one thing less that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
Bonnie, Harold just asked for us to raise our hands if we just a minute ago. I don't have that capacity on my screen, should I?
I was meaning something like this, basically.
But
yeah.
Yeah, and yes, the next thing I was going to mention was this nonverbal feedback. Yes. So thank you, Jane, for leading me right to my next topic. I have nonverbal feedback turned on. If you choose not to use it at any of your meetings, there's no problem with it being turned on. But I'm going to show you a graphic because this is one of the things I can't show you in the host account. If you open your participants tab in your Zoom toolbar at the bottom, you're going to get a column or a little box with everybody's name in it. And at the bottom of that box, you're going to have a yes, a no, a go slower, a go faster, and there's a raise your hand button. Let me show you the graphic that I took. So as the host, you have all of those things right here. This is my participants window. And they're down here. So Harold could have asked a question, meaning a visual show of hands, or said, hey, everybody, open your participants window and vote yes or no. Have you ever used the whiteboard in Zoom? And if you check yes, a check mark will come next to your name. And so you'll see the whole classroom full of participants, and they will all have one of those items. Under more, I can't click this and show it to you, but there's a thumbs up, thumbs down, some clapping hands, a coffee cup, and the picture of a clock. So if the clock might be like your way to remind someone who's speaking, okay, your 10-minute presentation is up, or the coffee might be, I'm really ready for a coffee break, or if you want to give someone positive feedback, either the clapping hands or the thumbs up, it helps by not breaking up the audio and slowing that person down, but it gives them some positive nonverbal feedback that you heard what they said and you liked what they said, or you could do the vote, you know, the thumbs up or thumbs down sort of thing. And I find those really useful the bigger your class is. rather than having to go around in a circle and to say, Bonnie, what do you think? Jane, what do you think? Harold, what do you think? David, what do you think? You can go a little faster. So if everybody has that open, check yes if you have your participants window open. For people who are on the phone, they obviously don't have this capability. And it looks like almost everybody has got that going on.
So the host and the participants see the same box like this? It's the same?
Yes. So the students will have the raise your hand button. Do you all see that? It's a blue hand that just is up. Can anybody raise the hand? Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That is what you'd use if I want to interject something, I want to say something, and then the faculty or the leader can call on the people and say, oh, Elizabeth, I see you have a question. Or instead of trying to follow the chat while you're trying to give a presentation, you can make sort of a classroom norm. If you have something you want to say related to the topic, raise your hand and the speaker will try to notice that and pass it on to you. Other questions about the nonverbal feedback?
I have a question. Are we assuming that students will know how to do all this as well? They'll be fluent in Zoom, or will we have to educate them?
I'll let Harold answer that question. My assumption is no. When I want people to use the nonverbal feedback, or even when I launch a poll, even though it shows up on their screen, I do tell them, I want to show you how to use nonverbal feedback, and we're going to be using this during the session. Or I've opened a poll, can all of you see it? So I wouldn't make the assumption. Harold, do you think that that's the way to go?
I think that if you're going to be using Zoom as part of your instruction, that it would be extremely appropriate to take some time out in that first session to kind of orient people on how it is that you plan to use Zoom. So if you're going to be making an emphasis on using nonverbal feedback, then show them, show them the basics of the tool and how it works. If you're going to be using polling, saying, oh, we're going to be using polling, and here's the first poll, throw a poll at them. Just as sort of, it's sort of a training piece. But yeah, an orientation is absolutely, I think, essential so that people will know how it is you plan to use Zoom.
I think students who have regular online classes will very regularly, they'll start to learn this after they've done it a couple of times as a more regular part of their learning. But you will probably always have a new student or two in your class who's new to Zoom who hasn't. So it can be helpful even if you just use an example to say, hey, everybody, make sure you keep your participants' windows open because I'm going to ask you to use the nonverbal feedback icons at the bottom as a part of the way we run our class. It doesn't have to be a long, 10, 20-minute discussion or anything. They'll understand it as they try it out. And you'll see that your check marks, your yeses and nos, stay on. And if you click yes again, it'll go away. So these are little toggle buttons. If that question is over and someone asks a new one, you might need to uncheck and recheck or change your answer to no and then turn your no off after that conversation is over.
Actually, there is under more, you'll notice that you have mute all, unmute all, and then more. If you go under more, there's a menu there and it says clear all feedback. It's your last selection there.
Yes, I have that. As the host, I can hit clear all and clear everybody's answers.
Right.
But you guys can't see my screen, so. All right.
I can take a screenshot of that and maybe show you what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Great. So more meeting settings, and these are just generic and they will be set up for all of your future meetings. I leave breakout rooms on just in case I want to break out a class at some point. If you don't have this turned on here, I don't believe you can allow breakout rooms in the meeting itself. So I just leave it on in case I want to use it. And I usually use screen sharing on because I'm almost always sharing my screen for some purpose or another. All right. Sorry, we're having a door alarm just outside my office. So I'm trying to determine if it's actually a fire alarm and I need to leave the building or if it's just going to be fixed in a minute. All right, so that's what I would leave for my settings. We're not going to go over these because we could spend a whole hour on it, and we want to show you guys how to do polling and how to do some breakout rooms. By a show of hands, if you want to do breakout rooms, check the yes button. All right, we've got a good number of people who want to see breakout rooms, and I'm going to stop sharing and have Harold show us more about breakout rooms.
Okay. Let's do a screen share here. I've been taking some screenshots as we go here so that you can see kind of what the heck we're talking about. Well,
I'm gonna, yeah, I have on your bottom toolbar, if you're a host or co-host, you will see a button that says breakout rooms. You guys won't be able to see that because you're participants, but just know it's on that bottom toolbar.
All right. What we were talking about earlier when we talked about that more button that you had here that allows you to go ahead and change some settings. You know, that's here. And then also we were talking earlier about the thumbs up and thumbs down. In case you didn't happen to get there, this is what we were discussing as far as the additional sort of nonverbal feedback that's available. But in terms of, and I'll quickly switch here between things. My apologies. When we talk about using the breakout rooms, there is a menu selection, as we said, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like now. Again, I took a couple of screenshots. So let's go ahead and put that there. And there they are. I put them someplace. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? And yeah, okay. So you click that Breakout Rooms button, and the first thing that you're going to see is it's going to ask you to create some rooms. And there it depends upon the number of students that you have. Obviously, you're probably, if you're breaking people out, you're going to have at least 2, but you could have 3, 4, 5. I don't know that there's an actual limit on the number of rooms. I've never tested it, but yeah, you can assign people to rooms manually, or you can also assign them automatically. It all depends upon, you know, if you have, for some reason or other, let's say that you have the class broken up into groups already, and say that you have, they're working on different projects or whatever, then you're probably going to want to go ahead and assign people manually to the different rooms. And some of the, you know, once you've created your rooms, you're going to see here that you can assign people as you need to. You're going to see here that you have some options. And when you click that options button, you have different things that you can do. You can move all the participants into the break rooms automatically. And you can actually set things up in Zoom so that when people come to a meeting, they're automatically assigned, boom, right into a breakout room automatically. You can adjust things so that the breakout rooms close automatically after a certain period of time. Here you see 30 minutes. In an online class, you probably aren't going to go more than 10 or 15, I wouldn't think, but you have different options there. You can have it notify you when the time's up so that you can go into the breakout rooms and move along, move along. There's also, it also gives you a warning as well as these things get ready to end. And you see here that you have a countdown timer. So next thing to do would be to actually create some breakout rooms. Are we ready for that?
I'm ready. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So setting up the breakout rooms, can they be, how far in advance can they be done? Does it have to be, you know, can it be 30 minutes? Can it be days before you're scheduled to have that particular session?
It can be set up well in advance, like days before.
Okay. Thank you.
Go into the meeting and do your meeting setup.
Harold, let me just clarify.
Yes.
Does that mean she can assign which students are going to go into which room in advance? That can only be done when you're in the meeting, correct?
As I understand it, that can be done when you are actually setting up the meeting. But let me confirm that because I don't want to give bad information.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to be the host and test breakout rooms, I'm always willing to be a test guinea pig. You host the meeting and invite me and a couple of other people, and we can work on allowing each person in the meeting to set up and assign the breakout rooms so that you get to actually test it without real students in the room. If we can't find an answer, Falami, we will get you an answer later today.
Sure.
Okay.
This is a great plug for Zoom support. If you log into the Zoom, that yellow Zoom button, at the bottom right of the page, there is a 1-800 number you can call and talk to them. And they answer it and usually answer your question right while you're on the phone with them.
Oh, nice.
They're really great about it, and they know all these details. They could even point you to a tutorial that you could then review later.
Great.
As well.
Thank you.
The correct answer is yes, you can pre-assign breakout rooms.
Excellent. That is really helpful for large meetings.
Yeah.
So yeah, in fact, let me do a quick screen share. I keep pulling you in and out of screen share, and I do apologize for that. What you should be seeing is my screen here where I'm showing you where you can check this box that says breakout room pre-assignment or pre-assigned. You click that, you can actually create the rooms in advance. And you can assign participants to the breakout rooms, adding their email. Create up to 50 breakout rooms and assign up to a total of 200 participants.
So Harold, is that when you're on your meetings page, you click the name of the meetings and you check that checkbox for that particular meeting?
Right, because what you're doing is you're going into the meeting and you're basically going to edit the settings here. You can you're doing setup or you can do it after the fact.
Yeah. So this isn't a meeting settings for all of your meetings.
Right.
If you have one for this class,
right.
You'll come to this one, you'll click the breakout room pre-assigned for this class meeting.
Right.
and then you can break it out for your other class meetings, and you can get your roster right out of Sakai too, if or self-service if you need it. So you can
Right.
copy
It
and
goes
paste
here that you
people's
can
email
import
address.
from a CSV file. And my assumption here is that it would have to be formatted in a specific way, and you can download the template there.
Yeah, probably just comma separated email addresses, one on each
Right.
line.
Or as I say, you can just add them in manually, just email, comma, email, comma, email, comma. But yeah, wanted to show that to you.
Great.
So, Bonnie, as the official meeting host, you have to be the one that creates the breakout rooms.
Okay, I can do that. So co-hosts can't do breakout rooms?
Correct. Only the meeting host can.
Okay. And you guys should also know, if you click on someone else's name as the host, there's a more button in the participants window, and you can make them the host or you can make them the co-host. So if you have someone who's teaching with you and they're going to be doing the breakout rooms, make them the host and you have them make you a co-host, and then they can do the breakout rooms. I'm going to automatically break us into 4 rooms. And I'm going to create the rooms. I'm hopefully just for a couple of minutes, and then you'll get a 60-second timer that'll say these breakout rooms are going to close in 60 seconds. And you should also have a leave button so you can leave before it's done and come back to the main window.
Right.
Breakout rooms close automatically. I'm going to give us 1 minute.
Ooh.
And then we'll be back back to the main window. So here we go. Open all rooms.
Okay.
And you guys are going to get invitation. All right.
As we all come back in. There we go.
All right.
We didn't lose anybody, did we?
That is the perfect time for people to sneak out of class.
Oh, no.
I think we had 13 people a few minutes ago, but anyways, we're back. Okay, so we've talked about nonverbal feedback, breakout rooms. We wanted to talk about 2 more topics and any questions you might have. One topic is polling, and one topic is recording settings. So let me share and show you the recording settings real quick. There are only a couple of little things. And then anybody who wants to stay on and learn about how to do a poll, we'll do it at the end. Does anybody have any questions before I jump into recording settings?
I'm just curious to know what happens with the breakout rooms for recording. Will all 4 breakout conversations record, or none of them?
I don't know. I want to pass that question to Harold.
The short answer is that it only records the main room, unfortunately.
Or maybe fortunately.
Well,
I can see where it would be something you want to record the main room, and if there are conversations going on, say in small work groups or things like that, that maybe those shouldn't be recorded. Pros and cons. So, all right. So if you're in your settings on the Zoom website, if you're done with the meeting tab, you can jump over to the recording tab. And Harold mentioned earlier, if you have a pro account, you can record to the cloud. That means the recording that you create during your Zoom session stays on the internet. It's hosted there for 240 days, and all you have to do is give people a link to it. You don't have to upload it to YouTube. You don't have to add captions. You don't have to host it somewhere else. Zoom sends you an email and says, your recording is ready. Send this link to anybody you want to share it with. And here's the link to where you can download the files if you need them. So it's super helpful. With the cloud recording, you also have a bunch of different settings. By default, the local recording records the screen you're sharing and the gallery view, this long strip of videos, everybody's faces that's seeing. In my case, I don't want to show everybody's faces. A lot of people don't want to be on a video that I might use for training purposes. So I record just the active speaker gallery view and shared screen separately, and I only record the shared screen. That way, people don't have to appear in my training videos. You may want to include the active speaker, and that will leave a little video in the upper right-hand corner of the box for whoever's speaking at the moment. So just when you come in to set your recording settings, be deliberate about what it is you want to record. These settings will stay the same for all of your future meetings. So when you're going to record, come and check them. And then if you don't record for a few sessions, you might want to check them before you record again, just to make sure for that particular meeting, it's set up the way you want to record. I always record an audio transcript and optimize the recording for a third-party video editor, just to make sure that the file is as flexible as possible if I ever want to use it on YouTube, or if I want to edit it or things like that. And I record an audio-only file. All right, so this audio transcript is a typed transcript of what is spoken, as close as possible as Zoom can get it. This audio right here, record an audio file, is an audio file that you can play and just listen to without a video. So the way I have mine set up, I'm gonna have 3 items every time I record. I'm gonna have the video with the audio and the closed captioning all attached. You just open it up on the shared thing. I'm gonna have a separate typed transcript of the recorded section of the session that you're in. And I'm gonna have the audio only file, which will be a lot smaller than a video, so easier to transfer and a little more anonymous.
A point about the audio transcript, by the way, Bonnie.
Yeah.
You can actually go in to your recordings later and edit that audio transcript. So if you want to go back and make sure that what was said in the video is actually what is appearing in the transcript, you can actually edit the transcript so that it matches what's actually being said on screen.
Yeah, so here are several of my recordings. And it does sometimes take an hour or something after your class. The longer your video is, the longer it takes, generally speaking, to finish the files. And when I go into here, I can download the shared screen or the audio transcript. Or if I'm back on my recordings page, there's a share link. And this gives you the URL that you can share and just send to someone. So we did want to mention there is a policy on the Zoom homepage called the Audio Video Recording Acceptable Use Guidelines. If you record any video of any type, Zoom or otherwise, with students in it, you need their permission ahead of time, verbally, and you need written permission if you are going to share that anywhere but within the class of people that were on that video.
And I would go further and strongly recommend that you read those guidelines before you even make your first recording, so that you know, what's permissible, what's not permissible, and so forth, because all of that has been vetted by legal, as they say.
Yep, it's right here, audio video recording acceptable use guidelines, right on the Zoom homepage. And they're working on getting it connected to our acceptable use and our FERPA policies in Aura, if that's where you're used to seeing your Aura policies. So that's to say, if you click the Zoom page, right on this sign-in page, you can look at these audio video recording guidelines. It also gives you some great prompts for how to ask for people's feedback. And they recommend that if you know you're going to record a class, that you mention it in the syllabus if you know ahead of time. And that gives people time enough to email you and tell you why they might not want to be recorded, rather than you having to deal with it on the day of week 3 when you've decided to record. And you say, if anybody has any objections about recording, please say so now. It sort of puts them on the spot, and they might just leave the room, if so not to be. So there's some statements in here that'll help you walk through how to most effectively prompt people to let you know if they have concerns about that. Okay. So does anybody have any, you see this recording here. I recorded this a little while ago. I'm recording this session. This will stay as processing recording for maybe an hour or two after I hit the stop record button. And then I'll get an email from Zoom that'll tell me, oh, your Zoom video is ready. Here's the link for sharing it with people. Here's the link for the host to download the video. And that'll let you know when it's done. So you don't even have to think about it. They do all the work for you.
We have some questions.
Okay.
First one would be, does Antioch have its own requirements for recording classes? And I'll answer that one, unless you want to, Bonnie.
Have at it.
Basically, we have, yes, what we're talking about here is our own requirements for recording classes, but these are based upon federal law. So that, we had to take that into consideration as far as what was permissible and not permissible under FERPA. And let's see, does recording stop during breakout time? I think we answered that one. Basically, you're recording the main room while everyone's off in the breakout rooms. So
you could stop the recording before you go into breakout rooms and start it up again at the end if you're going to be in breakout rooms for a long time. And then you'll have 2 sections of your class, the before breakout rooms and after, or a long blank spot in the middle, which is easy to fast forward through.
And let's see, is the transcript only audio?
There can be up to 3 separate files. The transcript, yes, is only a timed text document. It says at minute 1 and 2 seconds, and it'll say whatever was being spoken at that time, and then there's a space at minute 2.5 and 13 seconds. It'll be the next. So just text. It's a .vtt file. You can read it with Notepad or any text editor. There's also, in your recording settings, there can be an audio file, which is just the audio. It's not printed text. It's the audio text. So if you want audio that people could just say listen to on their phone without a video, make sure this is checked. If you want the typed transcript, make sure you check audio transcript. I think audio transcript might be a bit of a misnomer. It's actually a text transcript of what was said. And then if you're recording, the active speaker will show and you'll get the video as well. So I'll save my settings.
And then there were some questions about polling that we didn't get to earlier. So,
okay. So the polling, if you remember, was in our meeting settings. You just, I must have clicked something. In the bottom of the meeting settings, about a third of the way down, polling. I have this turned on and it's available for all of the meetings in my Zoom account. And when I go into a meeting, so if I look at my meetings, this is a new meeting that we created today. When you click on the name of it, you go back into the settings, and at the bottom of the settings, I have to move our faces. You have the option, it says you have not created any poll yet. You have the option to add a polling question. Now, these polls are specific to the meeting they're in. If I create a Zoom recording settings poll in this meeting, I can't use it in my other meeting. So all you have to do is, have you ever used the whiteboard tool in Zoom? Whoops. So that's the name of your poll, just so that if you need to pick it. And then this is the text of your question.
right, you can have multiple questions within the same poll.
Yes. Once. No. No, but I want to. I mean, these answers can be anything that you want. You can do age ranges. All you do at the bottom is save your poll or add another question to your poll. And you guys won't be able to see this on my screen, but I have some polling questions in my session. So I'm going to open a poll. And I'm going to show you a multi-question poll. If you see it, you're welcome to answer it, or you can just look at it. And I'm going to also pull up a graphic of what the polling host screen looks like. So on your Zoom toolbar, you see this polls. You click on the polls button, and then it pops up. And from this drop-down box right here, I could have chosen which poll I wanted to share with you at which time. So I've got several in here, and I chose this one, Sakai training poll. So you guys can't see the results. I'm going to take a quick screenshot to show you what the polling results look like. And this is just a snapshot at the moment. 1 of 5 people said they're currently teaching an online course. 4 of 5 said they will be teaching an online course in Sakai soon. And if I scroll down, so this is active. Every time someone adds an answer, these numbers change on my screen. And when I'm done, there's this little end polling button at the bottom, and it will just end this poll. And then you can get the poll results in your Zoom webpage after the fact. It keeps a sort of a final copy of this.
Mhm.
Questions about polling before I close the poll?
No, that was nice.
I'm a little not sure. So these answers came, they came verbally? The poll was filled verbally, or did we fill something out? I don't
No,
remember.
you fill it out. Okay, so when you're looking on your screen, did you see this poll pop up and where you could answer it?
As I came into the meeting initially?
No, just now, just a minute
Oh,
ago.
just now. Yes. It came
Okay,
under
and so,
help. It came under a help button.
yep. And then when you finished leaving your answers, did you closed it?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have, we had 11. I'm not sure quite how many people we have in here right now. I have 6 people have answered. It's been updated since I showed you the picture. And I have 6 people who have answered it. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there are 7 or 8 in here. So I know that 6 people answered. This is an anonymous poll. It doesn't tell you who answered or who answered what. So you have to know, you're just sort of gauging the room with these polls. This is not I'm going to give each person a correct or an incorrect answer for these polls. And okay, I'm going to end polling, and that's going to stop your ability to answer anymore. And then there's a share results button. And now, can you see, I'm sorry, I'm hiding. Can you see the one with the orange line on it, orange and blue?
Mm-hmm.
The polling results. The orange is the most answered the question, the most popular answer for each question, and you should be able to scroll down and see both. Now you do not have to share those results. I had to click a button that said to share the results. I also have a relaunch the polling button so I can open it back up if I want to allow people to continue answering the question.
Or you could have a situation where maybe you open the poll, ask the question, and then maybe you show a video, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to reopen the poll, and then see if opinions changed after watching the video.
Yeah, a little pre-test and post-test.
Yes.
All right, so if I stop sharing the results, I can close my little polling tab. And right now you guys are only seeing my my blue screen, correct? All right, so I don't want to give you guys too much. We have introduced a lot of topics and a lot of details. Is there anything you'd like us to go over again? Questions we didn't answer? Does anyone want to stay on and try something? I can make you the host and you can practice.
I have just 2 quick questions. One is, can you review again the recording settings so that I'm sure I get a printable transcript at the end of a recording?
Sure.
You seem to be missing that, and I have been toggling back and forth to my own settings.
So you want a text transcript?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay. So I'm going to just close everything and go right from the beginning. I go to AU Direct. I go to the Zoom button.
Mm-hmm.
I sign in. It's thinking about it. Okay. And under settings, I go to the upper tab that says recording settings. And under cloud recording, record an audio only file. That is the spoken file. Audio transcript, just look for the word transcript. Make sure that's checked off. Okay. You're muted, Ken. So if you wanted to, I got your yay, okay?
I said yes, thank you, and then I was looking for my participant thumbs up and clap. My second last question, I'm sorry, folks. That wonderful little yellow bubble following your cursor.
Yep.
Where'd you get it?
The secrets? I have to give away my secrets? Okay. I'm saving a screenshot of the recording settings so that I can send it to anybody who asks later. Can you see my toolbar down at the bottom?
Yes.
All right. So I have a free download called Pen Attention 10. Highlight your pen or mouse cursor. It's free. Mine's on Windows. There's probably a Mac version of something. So, but there are many different ones. There are ones that you can pay for. that are a little more professional, have more options. And this one appears down in my toolbar here. Sorry. And it allows me to turn it on or off so that I always have this tool running on my desktop, but I only have to turn the yellow on by checking this box, highlight or unhighlight. So now it's undone. Now I have to go back and highlight it. You can also highlight, there are different highlighting settings you can change to how big you want it to be and what color you want it to be. Works like a charm. Okay, apply changes, and now it's pink. And how translucent it can be and all those things. I also have the tool Carnac, C-A-R-N-A-C, and if I type a keystroke, Control-C for copy, Control-A for select all, you can see them on my screen. That's a different free tool called Carnac. If you're, I'm often sharing with people, do you guys know the keystroke in Microsoft Word? Yeah, select all. I'm selecting all now, and they're like, how'd you do that? Well, I hit Control-A, which you can't see because you're not seeing my keyboard. Other questions?
You said there was a shelf life, or is there a shelf life for recordings?
Yes. The administrative, and I'm not even sure if we could do it longer if we wanted. If I look in my recordings, there are 240 days. And this tells you, I'm going to have to fix this pink, it's not very translucent, right here in this column, how many days you have left.
Okay.
So I think 240 days is plenty because I actually keep all of mine to use forever, but this gives me a long time. I download the files, I upload them on YouTube, and then they're on my YouTube channel forever. But eventually they expire from my cloud in Zoom. Now, you should not put student videos of any sort on YouTube. My videos are exclusively with employees, but there shouldn't be any sharing of student videos.
Right. Yeah. If you have need to maintain an archive of video content, especially of classroom type stuff, then I would do that in Google Drive.
Okay.
Yeah. That would
and
do that.
The permission from students, does it have to be written in an email? Does Antioch have a specific form that has to be signed, or is verbal enough? Permission to be recorded.
Verbal permission to be recorded is fine, but if you're sharing it with anyone other than the people who were on that recording, you need written permission. And in those guidelines, sorry, let me apply the changes so you can see my mouse now. In those guidelines, it gives you some verbiage for what you need to ask and have their signature.
Okay.
Okay. And if you have any questions at all, ask Mary Granger, mgranger@antioch.edu, or legal@antioch.edu. Better safe than sorry, always. It's really down to FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. We cannot share any non-directory information about a student with anyone, including parents, siblings, husbands, wives, without their written permission.
Okay.
So what's the easiest way to comply with FERPA if I want to share more broadly a video recording of class sessions? There's some steps you can go through. I'm pretty sure Mary has a form she could send you for video consent if it's not already included. Here's written consent. And here's the authorization for use of image, voice, performance statements, or likeness form. It's attached right in here. You could just print copies or email copies to people and make sure you collect them and get them back. This is your insurance that you got permission and didn't violate FERPA.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to stay on for questions.